right, everybody, welcome back. Another edition live at Drew's house. Hope you're all doing okay as we battle through weird times in August. Let's get right to my guest. He's locked in and ready to go. He's a return guest, which you always like. Matt Smith, Club Passim. How are you, sir?
Doing well, doing well. Happy to be here, Drew.
Absolutely. Well, I mentioned weird times because the coming out of the pandemic a few weeks ago, it seems it seems like the summer was trending good, and now we're starting to see all these breakthrough cases, and it is causing real issues in the real world, including at your establishment. We saw a big announcement come up, and you guys have made a big call. Why don't you tell everybody about it first of all?
Yeah, we're gonna be requiring folks to show vaccination proof to be in the club, and that's everyone. That's performers, staff, and audience. We want to kind of nip this in the bud and make sure that we're all being as safe as humanly possible. We're just trying to. We, it's not a pleasant thing to have to say to someone that they can't come in. That's not something that we ever want to do. But this is a public safety issue, and we're streaming all of our shows online from the club still, so people are going to have access wherever they are. But we just want to make sure that we're being as safe as possible for the entire community.
You guys are such a staple of the community. When you talk Club Hassim, it's a huge part of the Boston music scene in there, Cambridge, but it's a huge part of it. Do you try to be a leader in that way? Like, you know what, not the worst thing in the world for other venues to see Club Hassim be first.
Yeah, we're not the first. I mean, there are other places that have been announcing this as well, and it's great that people see us as a leader, and we're also just very mindful of that. We're very mindful of how people are looking at us and to us to do things as safely as possible. It's a scary time still. We're not through this yet, and where things were starting to reopen, nobody wants to see everything shut down again. Nobody wants to see that. But in order to make that happen, we need to be very, very careful. We can't just throw the doors open and say everything's fine.
Yep.
We need to watch science and watch how we're able to get through this.
And you mentioned other people, other businesses doing this, and you are right. In fact, I just talked with a restaurant, I think Grendel's in Cambridge, that made a similar decision, and I was talking to the manager over there, and maybe you guys know each other, I'm not sure, but she was mentioning how you do this, and it's difficult for everybody. It's difficult on the staff, they're all on board, but they don't want to do it either. It's tough to go back. It's just mentally tough, but also it's kind of tough because you do get pushback. I'm curious if you have. I don't know if you got some.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've gotten. I would say just in the short amount of time since we've announced this, we've gotten overwhelming support for it from audience and performers alike. However, yeah, there are some folks that are lashing out. There have been a few nasty emails. There are Facebook comments that, who knows if they're real or not, because that's just the world of social media. But, we've had some people say they will never support us again because of this. And I think it's an extreme knee-jerk reaction. I have empathy for those folks, but I don't understand that reaction. But we are also having people that are now saying we will buy tickets because of this. And I think we're going to see more of that side of things than the negative.
I know you were very pleased with, maybe you can give me this in a nutshell, but I know you said you were really feeling that love in the heart of the pandemic. I think was the last time we talked, and you were just amazed. People were really coming to you guys, and almost you were getting donations as even almost just a way of saying we love you guys, we're supporting you. Did that end up being the case all the way through? Did people really get you through?
Absolutely. And we tried to give back to the community too. We started that Passim Emergency Artist Relief Fund, and that was all, we were just being a conduit for money coming in and sending it all 100% right back out. And we raised and distributed over $160,000 to artists in need because of the generosity of the community. We were able to do that. And so, that wasn't us hoarding a war chest of money for ourselves. That was money that was meant to go right back out to the community, and it did. And so, we're in this for the long haul. We want to do it safe. We want to do it smart. And this is where we're at now. Where will we be a month from now? I don't know. I just don't know. But we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we're being as safe as possible.
I just had on yesterday a Dean Johnson, who was a music critic for the Globe and the Herald for many years, and we were talking about it's kind of a weird time because it's like these things that were bringing us out of the pandemic. Billy Joel at Fenway Park, Guns N' Roses, big concerts outside. It's like that's normal again. It's kind of coming at a time when we're just kind of dipping back the wrong way a little bit, and it's this
Yeah.
weird kind of merging of. I don't know. You feel that too?
Yeah. It's scary to think about, the festivals that have happened and things. And I know that some of the festivals have required proof of vaccination as well. And I think that's, it's the way to go right now to be safe. Certainly in this area, there's an incredibly high rate of vaccination. And, we hope that it's going to only keep going up at this point. But, that is not the be all end all, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yep. Yeah, when you put us back like a month ago, things kind of felt good a month ago. I know it seemed like you guys were having a lot of artists in. I believe I'm correct. Did you guys had like a real live music was back, right? People in your building.
We did our first ticketed concert back in the room on June 20th.
Yeah, I remember seeing.
Yeah, we had Ellis Paul in for a member concert, and then we started to have a few shows. But I mean, we've had more than a dozen shows in the room now, including a couple that were sold out.
Yeah, so I mean that starts to feel good, right? What has that been like? I mean, I guess it's all one big wave of emotions, but what was it like seeing music again, and now I guess kind of going back? But I mean, let's stick on the good side, seeing music again in the room.
Yeah, people, like we have a box of disposable masks that people can have at the front at the ticket counter for people if they don't have one and want one. But people were saying you should also be having tissues because there were a lot of people, just overwhelmed with emotion at seeing live music again and being in the room and feeling that energy. Because, online concerts have been a great way to get us through this, but it's not the same as being in a room, and it's never going to be, and it's not supposed to be. But it has been very, very emotional.
Yeah, it's funny. Some of the artists, we talk to a lot of musicians here, and I think I just had the last one I had on was Will Daly, who I think is a friend of you guys.
Yeah,
he was saying, he goes, I'm just not sure I ever want to stream again.
Well, we saw that in June where there were a lot of performers that had regular, they were doing weekly online streams, and they said like, I'm taking a break from this. Like now that I've got some actual shows booked, but given that, like that's a couple of months ago, and already we're starting to see things a little different, and we gotta be vigilant about this.
We shouldn't just say because it's not just because these artists are bored a lot. Like some of them are saying it would actually put them kind of into a dark place to put these songs out there that they put their life into, and they used to get these reactions back, and to not get that, it's kind of a lonely feeling sometimes.
Yeah, seeing text scroll up on the side of your screen is just not the same.
Just doesn't do it. You guys are such a, as we mentioned at the beginning, artists love your club. They love the people, they love the venue itself, they love the people you bring in. It's almost very, you don't meet people who don't have high praise for your place. What was it like? I'm sure you guys have a lot of respect for those artists that came in when it was probably just you and maybe a sound guy. I don't know.
That was me. That sound guy was me.
There you go. What were those days like of just, here's this great art. I remember watching you guys put on, I remember thinking, there's one of my favorite artists, Chad Stokes, you guys had in there. And just he's playing 3 or 4 songs, and I'm like, man, an empty room. I'd love to be in that empty room, but it's kind of a weird vibe.
The club manager Abby Altman and I were the crew for all of our live stream shows that happened from the club, and there were some times where we felt a little guilty that we got to see all this live music, but it was just sort of in service of getting something out there, and letting artists have that moment of not just at home playing to a screen, and some folks we'd allow them to bring a couple of friends that they knew had negative tests or were vaccinated, and just giving even just 3 or 4 people applauding is a big difference from singing to the void and and hoping for the best. And there's so many great things that technology has brought us, and this has been a lifesaver for so many people. But it's not the same experience. It is a different experience that is also good in many ways, but it's just not. It doesn't feed the same thing.
What are those little intimate shows like? Do you guys all kind of, I mean, there hasn't been too much to do during the heart of that pandemic. Do you guys all sit around and have a drink together afterwards and say, well, that was a great show?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. There are some times where, yeah, we do hang out and have that kind of debrief like you would have after a show anyway. And when the club is empty, you're able to space yourselves out and have a conversation and just be able to, knock back a beer and have those moments with people, that we weren't getting, no one was getting.
In 10 years, you'll never want to go through that again, but you'll probably look back and go, well, that was kind of unique.
This year, I never want to go through that again. That's true. About 10 years, like no one wants to go through that again.
I know. I do think we'll look back on some of these things, though, and think hopefully make us stronger in some way. I know I'll never take a show for granted again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and when you think about the places that have closed down permanently or that are still in flux, questioning whether they're going to be able to reopen again, it's a big hit. Like it's not just a big hit financially for folks, but it's a big hit culturally for the world. I mean, like, the music industry has changed so much so quickly, in so many bad ways, that this does not help that. This absolutely does not help that. And the industry as an industry continues to devalue artists, that are the ones that are the creators that are making it all. And we need to turn the tide on that. And anything that we can do to help be part of that in making sure that artists are working and are getting paid and feel like it has value, we need to do that. We're a venue, and that's become almost the sole way that artists can make money because they're not selling music anymore, which is a tragedy to me. It's absolutely a tragedy. Especially
your artists, because your artists are the ones that are, it's not the Rolling Stones and the Springsteens of the world's coming in. You got the guys that are guys and women that are making their bones right now. Like they're earning crowds as we go. Yeah. And those are the artists that I think I always use the tennis comparison. Like people say there's so much money in tennis, and it's like, well, there is, but it's really for a lot of those top people. Like if you start dropping down the rankings a little bit, yes, those middle field players, those are tough lives. I mean, those are people paying their own way a lot, trying to get to the next place. And I've always kind of saw a similarity there. Yeah. Those middle ground artists are just, it can be a battle. Do you fear, I know the industry has lost a lot of good artists through this already, I think, people that had to go in different directions. Yeah. I've heard stories. Do you fear that if we dipped down a little bit, we could lose more?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Where an artist might be able to come into the club and make a certain amount of money on tickets, sometimes, an artist would nearly double that in selling merchandise. And by merchandise, I mean music, I mean CDs, I mean records. Artists have needed to become, a retail boutique with, T-shirts and any number of other merch items instead of making a living on music. They shouldn't need to make a living on soft goods as well as that. They need to be like that music is valuable and it does make people's lives better. And giving your money to a company like Spotify does not help that artist.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. It's funny too, because I'm sure, have you had the Spotify debate? Because I have with, I know exactly what you're saying. And then I hear from other artists who say, I will say, there's a part of me that feels like it was good for me because it's opened my music up to so many people that never would have heard it. And there are real artists out there who have very mixed feelings on Spotify. It seems like you're Absolutely. Pretty clear, but have you had that debate, I'm sure, with other artists maybe?
Sure. And I'm not saying absolutely hardline, don't put your music there. But I do understand the artists that do feel that way. but at the same time, I've seen artists that only put their music up on streaming service. It's like, why not use Bandcamp as well? And because like I don't go to Spotify. That's my personal choice. I would rather spend money to buy an artist's material through their own website or through Bandcamp, or finding a way to support that artist better. And I'm confounded by the ones that won't allow me to do that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, I understand that. That's a good take there. Probably lets people in a little bit on why that's such a dilemma. And,
yeah, right.
Such a battle. I went to go see one of my favorite artists, Amos Lee, the other night at Prescott Park in New Hampshire.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is a great little take on the water there. I was thinking to myself, it's probably the first, I've been to smaller shows, breweries, see some of my friends play, that sort of thing. But it was kind of the first thing that felt like a kind of a bigger concert for me. It's the first time I've been out during all this in that regard. And I kept looking around the crowd and I'm thinking to myself, feels okay, feels good, kind of in the back. I don't know if I'd go too much bigger than this. And I, just with this happening, and I'm wondering, I'm thinking about like Billy Joel at Fenway and all that stuff, and Guns N' Roses were there. I wonder if it's happening too. Somebody just told me Boston could be seen as a test run along with Lollapalooza of let's see if anything comes out of this. And I said, that's kind of a scary thought. Like Boston is a test run for like, are we okay with the virus?
Right.
It was kind of a staggering thought. Just your take on concerts outside at the big venues.
Yeah. I think folks should be checking vaccinations. Like I wouldn't want to go to a 30,000 capacity event where I'm shoulder to shoulder with other people. Like it just makes me nervous. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But I understand also that people might not want to come into a 100-seat venue that's full indoors and be around people like that. So, I think that there's a risk in everything in life, and we all need to take our own risks, but we are trying to do this in a way where we are not putting people at needless risk.
Yeah. No, well said. What are those conversations like behind the scenes? I am sure they are not easy with your people.
Well, this was actually, it's that idea of like, we don't want to say no to anybody. That's not a pleasant thing to do, but there's a need. There's, it's scary. This is very, very scary, and it continues to be. And we are not done with this. It is not over. And it keeps changing, and we need to be mindful of that as we go through this. Remember back in March of 2010 when it was just like, oh, well, we'll be closed for a week or two, and then everything's going to be fine. And then it's like, well, maybe we'll be closed to the end of the month, and then maybe we'll be closed through the summer, and then maybe, like, you never know. You never know. And vaccines certainly helped, but now, the virus is changing, and it's infecting people who have been vaccinated. And so we need to be more mindful.
You're somebody who's worked through all of this. Like me, we've talked to a lot of different artists. You have a lot of different perspectives on this. What's it been like for you the last 18, 20 months? How do you sum it up?
I don't know that I can sum it up quickly. It's for me, one of the biggest things about this is it has just showed how strong the community is. It really has shown what the work that we've done for the past 27 years, as Club Passim, the nonprofit, but for 60 plus years before that as Passim and the Club 47, what that community means to people. And how it continues to mean something to people, and how we might not all see each other all the time, but we've all got each other's backs. We're all there to take care of one another. And, that is sadly something that has gone away in a lot of the world. In the United States included, as people kind of branch off into their own individualized ideologies, and they kind of get away from community to just hear the, the echo bubble. Mm. And so we need to rely on each other. We can't all just be in our own little bubbles.
Well said. Final two from me. Does all of Cambridge work together when you talk about, making these changes as far as checking vaccine cards? Do you maybe mention to the restaurant down the street, hey, this is what we're doing?
Yeah, I mean, like, we work with the Harvard Square Business Association, and we also, pay very close attention to what's going on in the city of Cambridge, to align ourselves. And I mean, Cambridge has been very forward thinking about all of this, so it's been kind of easy to align ourselves that way.
And what's the, is there one, I mean, you've had some of those rare, intimate moments, not by your choosing. I know you'd rather have that place full all the time, but you've had some of those rare, intimate moments with some of these just unbelievable artists that come through your place. Is there one, sometimes they can shed light on a situation that kind of, I don't know, some artists always have quotes that stick with you, I'm wondering if there's some story or something that was said maybe after one of those shows or something that will stick with you through this. Anything like that?
Well, there have been a couple of artists that, even since we've been back open to some capacity, we've had artists say to us that they've never been treated with this kind of respect as an artist coming into a venue. And to me, that really hits home, to say that we're doing the work that we're supposed to do. We are treating these people with this respect that they deserve and that everyone deserves. When I hear about places that are not being good to artists, they're the reason the venue exists.
Yeah. Well said. This will be my final one. Are you scared for the industry here as we start to, as this kind of this weird time right now? Are you scared for the music industry?
I'm scared is such a strong word. But, I'm concerned, certainly. And I see that there are a lot of questions right now, and that we just need to be careful and mindful and smart about how we proceed, and keeping everyone kind of on the same page as we move forward, in getting through this. The music industry at large has other issues to deal with apart from just COVID. I mean, like, that sounds dismissive of COVID. That's a big one for everybody all the time. The music industry has its own issues as well.
That's a whole nother show, right? Matt Smith, always enjoyed talking to you. Great work over at Club Passim as always. And yeah, I know those are tough decisions. Maybe not, but I know they don't make life easier having to work in a pandemic. I know that.
Yeah, and, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Thanks for all the work you guys have done for all the artists here. So many of them have crossed paths, and like I said, they all have great things to say about your place. So,
well, thank you. That's great to hear. Always
a pleasure catching up with you, man.
Yeah, hope to see you in the club sometime.